human beings are alive because they seek attachment and because they're propelled by affection. So the isolated, achieving individual in the end implodes.
Hello and welcome to Aspiecast, Episode 6. I'm Stephen Michael, and this is a podcast aimed at trying to just expose experiences that I've had throughout my life, with the hope that maybe they'll help convey the types of situations that can be caused by Asperger's and how they're not necessarily traceable to a defect within an individual. And that's how it's helped me a lot. The more I've heard about other people's experiences and things that they've gone through as a result of having Asperger's, it's helped me because I can relate those experiences to things that have happened to me when I interact with other people. And then I realize that indeed I'm not the defective person that I thought I was up until I heard about Asperger's maybe 5-6 years ago. At the very beginning, what I started off with is a small snippet from a documentary called The Four Horsemen. And The Four Horsemen doesn't necessarily have relevance to Asperger's. It was something that I got through email. It was a link that somebody sent to a YouTube video. And it turns out it's the YouTube has the full documentary called The Four Horsemen available. And I'll put a link in the show notes. The documentary I was told it would be fairly intense. I didn't find it that intense. I kind of found some parts of it rather trite, and I don't know why. But this part sure had an effect on me because it reminded me in the Asperger's realm about feeling trapped. And the feeling of being trapped has been a huge one for me from, I don't know, age 22 onward. So maybe, more than 25 years. And the trapped is from having no concept of how to get out of the loneliness. And the fact that there isn't really any opportunity visible going forward that would undo the loneliness. It's a very complex thing, and I almost hate to even think about it. But the feeling of being trapped is, for me, very much related to some meltdowns that I've had, and I understand that meltdowns can be a symptom or effect of Asperger's. And I don't know really how to describe a meltdown except that 3 times in my life, around age 22, age 35, age 47, I had what I think would qualify as meltdowns. And they are basically a huge amount of mental pain, for 5 minutes or whatever, or more. Very intense to the point where it's almost completely disabling of the rest of your ability to sense what's going on. Really painful. It unfortunately, there's no physical pain that you could describe it as or compare it to, but the intensity of it and the unpleasantness of it matched the magnitude of the time that I had a kidney stone. And at least with the kidney stone, you can go to the doctor and they'll give you morphine and get rid of the pain fairly concretely. In the case of the meltdown, it's just really freaky and bizarre and painful as hell. In all 3 cases, though, I had it triggered by a absolutely intense feeling of being trapped, and the trapped is trapped from alone or trapped away from the ability to have social interactions with people that make you feel like you're alive, or make you feel like there's hope or potential or fun things happening, fun things to look forward to. Just an inability to see a path forward away from being alone. So the quote there at the very beginning, again from the documentary on YouTube called The Four Horsemen, that was by Camila, and I don't know how to say her last name, but it looks like Batmang Lijay or something like that. So I'm going to play right now a little bit more of that, and then followed by another somewhat relevant section, and the person speaking is named Philip Blonde. So here's the little longer snippets from this.
What the West is now beginning to realize is that the individual achievement without incorporating the vulnerable community is a myth. The idea was make your own life, be individually aspiring, and then you'll be individually achieving, and then you'll be individually prosperous, and then you'll be individually happy. You end up doing that in a glass jar. And the glass jar has a limited height, and it's encapsulating, and in the end you die of lack of oxygen. Human beings are alive because they seek attachment and because they're propelled by affection. So the isolated, achieving individual in the end implodes.
In the end, the only thing that makes human beings happy isn't money. It's very clear that past a certain level, you only get marginal gains from wealth. What really makes us happy is other people. It's our relationship with other people that's really been damaged by the last 30 years. We trust them less, we have less interaction with them, we bond less than ever before, we marry less, and marriages are under more threat than ever before. And all the associations that represent sort of permanent, unconditioned human affection are being eroded or damaged. And that's the real legacy of the last 30 years.
And again, that from the movie Four Horsemen, and I'll put the link in YouTube to that if you're interested. And the woman's name Camila Batmang Lijay or something like that, and then the man was Philip Blonde. So I found this part of the documentary pretty intense, and just the idea about imploding, which is what Camila used that word. It was pretty intense, and it got a little more intense for me because about a week after seeing this and sort of having it on my mind, a week after that was when Elliot Rodger shot up Isla Vista, people in Isla Vista, which is a town that's right next to UC Santa Barbara in California. And I was fairly intrigued by Elliot Rodger. I don't know if I had heard that he had Asperger's immediately or not, but what I did, just because I thought it was so unique, is I went to YouTube to see the video that he had uploaded right before his shooting rampage. And I still believe that the channel that he created on YouTube is still there, actually. And I'm going to try and put a link to it in the show notes to that YouTube channel. And in there are various videos of his. And the theme that, a couple things really resonated. So the first thing was that if you look at the first part of his videos, he introduces himself. And the way he introduced himself told me there's a strong, aspect here of having Asperger's. And I don't know what makes me say that, but I'm going to play a clip here just for folks to listen to and judge and see if you have the same reaction. So here goes.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. I'm just sitting in my car right now after watching that beautiful sunset descend beyond that hill up there. Enjoying a nice vanilla latte.
Okay, and so here's the thing: is when I heard that, I was very intrigued. I got the impression that maybe he was also feeling so trapped that he imploded, and I think that's kind of what happened. The only difference is if you read his manifesto, as they're calling it, and I'll try and put a link to that as well in the show notes. The manifesto is a big long document. I think it's titled "My Twisted Life," and he apparently had been planning this murderous rampage for quite a while. And so I don't know if that would qualify as an implosion or not. It's not like something, all of a sudden happened in a big, huge, sudden thing. It was something on his mind that he got closer and closer to making happen through a lot of planning and purchasing of guns and stuff like that. But the very scary part for me was that all the things he touched on in his videos, well, not all the things, but the stuff he touched on about being jealous of other people was exactly what I used to think about when I was his age. I think he was 22. And the jealousy combined with hormones and an inability to connect with people and a feeling of being trapped, and then again combined with hormones, and then combine that some more with some more hormones as a young man of that age might have, combines for just gut-wrenching frustration and pain and worry if anything's going to change, and worry about what if it keeps going in the same nothingness as it has been for years. So it really freaked me out, actually, watching those videos and reading his manifesto, as they call it. I'd be interested if any folks listening have had the same reaction, or if you haven't, looked at his videos or read his document. Let me know if you think that I'm on target or off target. But anyway, that just really freaked me out, because it brought back all of these feelings and memories of the gut-wrenching, just, I don't know what you call it, intense feelings of not being able to connect, and then the worry that that's going to keep you completely from having any kind of physical intimacy that your raging hormones are telling you that you desperately want. So, really unpleasant stuff. And I don't know if I ever dealt with that properly. I just know that I'm still taking pills to try and stay positive about things. And there's certain medications that I take that I do have respect for, much as I hate the idea of taking pills because your thoughts are a certain way. But I thought I had all these feelings or these thoughts forgotten about and not a worry, and then now I'm thinking about the jealousy a lot more. It's coming back, and the jealousy is sort of the gut-wrenching thing, and comparing yourself to other people. It seemed like he was doing that a lot. The only thing that I was surprised by is that he's, what I would say, ultra confident that he's really good looking or something. I got that out of one of his videos. He said something in a way that I think was quite pompous and, I don't know, just not fair, because he's thinking that he should be the one getting the girls and not these other guys because they're, in one case he said that Indian guy or something, as if that was something that made that person lesser. So I really don't understand that stuff. I have to say I don't have any real good understanding of why Elliot Rodger went the route that he went. I just understand the intensity of the jealousy that he described. And I think he was seeing a therapist, and I think I read that he had been, his parents or somebody was aware enough that they were trying to get him some social skills training. And so sounds like somebody was thinking, somewhat in the right direction, but I don't understand how some feelings that he had that were so intense could have either gone unnoticed or not be mentioned to therapists. So that part confuses me. And I'm very interested to hear what his family was like, because I think that could give us a lot of clues too. So if anybody hears, any interviews or quotes with his father, I'd love to hear about that. And feel free to email anytime about this or anything else. The email address is aspiecast@gmail.com. And I can't say that I'll be able to respond to everybody, but definitely read everything. Which takes me to a new topic, which is I have gotten a fair amount of really wonderful emails, and I really appreciate all of them. Some of them came at a time where this my most recent feeling of being trapped and depressed happened. So I have to say thanks to the recent emailers about that, because it kind of was a good pickup. At the same time, because I've been getting positive responses from people, it makes me more worried, believe it or not, about doing these episodes, because I feel like I've got to make sure I don't do something stupid. But anyway, that's my problem. I'm not trying to suggest that people don't send me praises, but it's very helpful. And the other thing that I just absolutely am so glad and happy about is the emails that I've gotten have been so well written and conveying of real honest emotions and opinions, and in very positive ways. Nothing negative, nothing terse, nothing that might remind me of, I don't know, the way I used to communicate. In other words, Aspies sometimes are supposedly known to be, unempathetic or, not connecting right when they're communicating. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that these emails prove that on the inside of the Aspies who are writing me, on the inside is real honest emotion. It does exist. It's not missing like some folks might assume in the case of interacting with an Aspie. So anyway, I'm very, very encouraged by the fact that real, honest, positive, true feelings have been existing in these emails. So that's wonderful. Let's see. This episode is pretty late, and again, that's because I've just been highly, I don't know, depressed, I guess, probably for the last 5-6 weeks. And also traveling quite a bit. Well, I did the previous 4 episodes from a different side of the world. I actually have a reason to work in India, so that's where I was from mid-January until end of May. And this is 2014. End of May 2014, in case this gets listened to in the future. And the reason I mention that is sort of also relevant to one of the first emails that I ever got, talking about how relocating can sometimes be a good thing, for an Aspie. And I definitely can agree with that, because I actually relocated from the college town where I sort of found myself stuck for 12 years and moved to Washington, D.C. So my college town was in California, and I sort of was stagnant there, and then realized I just got to do something for myself. So moved to Washington, D.C. Fortunately, I had a friend that was moving there at the same time, and so I had, I wasn't totally on my own. That would have been even more intense or scary. But that was a great thing. I think Washington, D.C. has got a lot more opportunity than some other places for, I don't know, going out and just sort of doing things either on your own or with other people that want to find people to do things with. So I recommend that. I don't necessarily know if that would work for me in my 40s, but it sure was good in my 30s for just, finding other people that want to connect. Now, that doesn't mean I had good connections. In other words, I kept having this repeating situation of, finding that there's, yes, indeed, groups like meetup.com groups of people that want to connect, and then those things might either fizzle out or people would go away, as I've mentioned in previous episodes. But at least there was, places to go and try and groups to join and sort of just sit there and, observe and all that. So I'm just saying that I definitely agree that it's good to try a new location if you really want to get some sort of new perspective that might help. And then mention that Washington, D.C., even recently I've heard that it has a lot of good opportunities for people to try and connect. Now, in my case, I was fortunate enough to have a connection work-wise that allowed me to have a reason to go to India for long periods. By long, I just mean a couple of months at a time. And that's actually a really interesting thing, because when you go to a completely different culture, you don't have the same judgments coming at you at all. People want to find out about you, and they're not judging you the same way as people in American culture, let's say. So I guess I would just say that it can be very rejuvenating and refreshing and stuff like that. And I absolutely love the fact that that I can go there sometimes for long periods. At the same time, I still end up not having connections really with people, and it's, after a while it becomes the same type of problem. It's just that, for the first couple of months, if I go to, this other place, it's great because people want to interact with you and all that. And I guess I'm saying that there's still sort of a fundamental thing going on, presumably Aspie related, and I don't have a good solution for it. But anyway, I do feel like that's a good idea to try and change location and get a bit of a refresh, especially if you have a chance to do something in a different culture. One other note that I wanted to mention, I got some helpful comments by email about my comment about being confused by or not completely understanding the "thank you for your service" mantra that seems to be pervasive across the United States. And I just wanted to say thanks for the various interpretations that people gave on that. And if I could summarize it here, I would, but it's kind of complex thought processes for me. Other than, I just wanted to say that it's been very helpful and eye-opening how other people think about it. The other thing related to that is I had specifically said that I didn't want to include Afghanistan when I was talking about the confusion over that "thank you for your service" comment. People were emailing me mentioning they kind of didn't see why I would exclude Afghanistan. And the truth is, I just didn't want to do it because I didn't want to upset people who have, connections to service members that are there right now. But my firm opinion is that it's, we're there because of the Trans-Afghan pipeline. There's a concept that says if you control the distribution of a resource, that's just as good as owning or having that resource on hand at any time. So to me, we are in Afghanistan because of the Trans-Afghan pipeline. We control the distribution of huge amounts of natural gas from the Caspian Sea, and I just consider it very strategic. I for some reason, look for and maybe see and maybe talk about too much the kind of connections that I think most people don't want to see. And my current connection to draw from all of this is related to peak oil. And then peak oil could explain through economic concerns and general ability to function as a country for the United States, could explain September 11th and could explain Afghanistan and could explain Iraq. Anyways, I see those connections. I'm not saying they exist in reality. I'm just saying that those connections seem fairly plausible to me. And again, the reason I sort of didn't want to include Afghanistan was more about not wanting to upset people, because I know there's still a lot of bad stuff going on there. And as of this time, of course, late June 2014, there's bad stuff going on in Iraq. So who knows what's going to happen there. So anyways, thanks though for the folks that responded to that comment on thank you for your service, and who were wondering why I didn't include Afghanistan. I think this is about it for this episode. I kind of went all over the map in this episode. What I'm going to try to do is have some more concrete or more focused episodes coming in the future. But as I mentioned, it is kind of hard for me to put these things together because it makes me have to think about all these things that I didn't realize that I didn't want to think about. But some of the topics I have planned, I want to mention how certain drugs have helped me. And I want to mention comments that I've gotten from other people over the years. I started writing down all the different things that I've heard from people, both in social situations and in work situations. And I think those are kind of helpful. And I'll be real curious to find out if other folks have had similar comments. So in the meantime, feel free to send your comments, suggestions, experiences, if you want me to mention any of them, to me at aspiecast@gmail.com and aspiecast@gmail.com. And also check the show notes for links to Elliot Rogers' manifesto and his YouTube video channel, and also the link to the Four Horsemen documentary on YouTube. All right, thanks a lot for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.